coming to tonight's City Council work session. Today is Tuesday, September 4th, 2018, and we'd like to call this meeting to order. With that, can we move to a roll call, please, Vanessa?
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilwoman Gussie?
Here.
Councilmember Manfredi?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Wade?
Here.
Vice Mayor Chapados?
Here.
Mayor Price?
Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you very much. First item of business is typical. We usually review the City Council regular meeting agenda. So, Council, anything on there that you would like to see removed? I know we have a few. We'll start with Councilwoman Gussie, go to Councilmember Smith.
I'd like to remove from consent MOU 18-07.
Which item number again?
It's
9-4.
9.6.
9.6.
Oh.
Got it.
18. Oh, I got you.
9.6. Anything else?
No.
Okay. 2 seconds. Okay, Councilmember Smith?
Yes, I had 9-6 on mine as well.
Okay.
And then 9-15, 17, and 18.
9:15, 17, and 18. Okay. Yes,
I'd like to
Councilor Wade.
go with 9.8.
9.8. Squeeze that in the middle. So we have 9.6, 9.8, 9:15, 9:17, 9:18 as being removed from the consent agenda. Those will be the first ones we get to when we move to the regular agenda. Which ones? You have a question? Okay, so again, 9.6, 9.8, 9.15, 9.17, 9.18. Okay. Anything else this time? Got it. On to item 3.2. Going to hear reports from meetings and/or conferences attended by the council. Council, time is yours. Yes, Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Wade.
Mayor, let Councilmember Wade go because I have to
Sounds
open
good.
up a file.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention the Arizona League of Cities that we attended here as a council. I wanted, first of all, to thank Carol Robinson, our executive assistant, for all the work and effort that she put in to make sure that we had places assigned for us, and that when we were there a little bit late, she was always there to take care of making sure we were accommodated. So I want to thank her personally and as a council as well. And I don't want to take the thunder away here, but I do want to acknowledge your ascension to the presidency of the Arizona League of Cities. That's 91 cities that I'm going to leave it at that, just to say, just saying, I'm very proud and happy to be serving with you, and the way you conduct yourself there really helps us as a municipality and gives us a lot of support out there. So thank you for what you're doing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I have what I think is a lot of really interesting information to share from some meetings that I went to. First, I'll start off with the MAG Economic Development Council that I went to today. One of the things that they shared that I found to be very interesting was a discussion during the call to the public on cybersecurity. And the gentleman that spoke is from a company whose name is Cybersecurity Education. And he spoke just briefly about some training that they're going to have, and he gave a sample of what they'll be discussing, which I found fascinating. He basically talked about clone voice. So if you haven't heard about it, which I had not, basically there's software that's really close to being finished, if not already done, where they can collect 3 minutes of me talking right here on the podium and take that 3 minute of information and create my voice and transfer it to any type of illegal use, which is pretty darn scary. So I gathered a little bit of information. In Chief Stahl, they're doing some training for police chiefs, and I was going to let Carrie know that they're also doing some training for IT. I can forward that information on if you're interested in looking to see what it is that they're going to offer. But I found it very interesting, and a lot of their training is focused on police area and IT, obviously. There was a big discussion on education and what are the needs from education to meet the needs of economic development. Because you might ask, okay, so why on an economic development committee are you talking about education? But it's so connected. I found it fascinating. If you don't know, there's an Arizona initiative called Achieve 60 Arizona. and that is to achieve 60% of adult, which is age 25 to 60 population, graduating with a degree, a certificate, or a license by the year 2030. So that's their goal. We currently, if you're interested, have 43% of a population that meets that need, and it's very short of, with regard to what our needs are going to be for economic development in the future. So I found that fascinating, but one additional item, it requires more kids graduating from high school than we currently have graduating from high school. So in order to meet that need, we currently have 80% of kids graduating from high school on an average across the state, and so we need that number to come up because currently 50% of them are actually attempting some type of post-secondary education. So fascinating in regards to what our economic development needs are and how education is such an important part. One thing they had, Maricopa Community College, they're sharing, and I was really proud of the fact that I know that CAC, our community college, is also establishing industry partnerships to incorporate and understand our local needs. So what they're doing is CAC is working hard with our industries, and as an example, one thing that is new to Pinal County that some of you may already have heard of, some not, is the Nikola semi-truck hydrogen electric builder, which Coolidge won over Buckeye, and it's all because they won that because of the fact that Pinal County, Coolidge, GPEC were all able to react quickly and be very nimble and agile to their needs, and they ended up choosing, which was a surprise, Coolidge over Buckeye. But regards to CAC, CAC is taking up, just as they have with other companies that are expected to come to Pinal County, the training for what's needed for that Nikola semi-truck hydrogen electric builder. So it's pretty cool how important that is in establishing all of the needs that we have for economic development. I'm going to skip over one thing that was interesting, but I'm taking a lot of time. Economic development overview of Arizona. They gave a discussion on the important factors, which I think Denise is really, were you on the call? Yeah, so Denise is already aware. Really interesting, where they listed the real key elements that are important for economic development are your tax rates. So as we set tax rates, as the county sets tax rates, it becomes very important. Our economic development programs that Denise puts in place, our workforce development, which CAC is taking care of, transportation infrastructure, which we all know. Marketing is huge. So I know we have Mita here who does some of our marketing for us. And responsible regulations, you know, when we put code in place, we have to know what we're doing that impacts economic development, and obviously a balanced budget, which the city of Maricopa has had for a long time, so that's good news. Then I attended the Pinal Partnership on August 31st, where they talked about the Nikola semi-truck builder, and they are planning on bringing 2,000 high-paying jobs, which CAC needs to train up, right, within 4 or 5 year periods. So they're wanting to move quickly, and I know to some of you that may not sound quick, but it actually is pretty quick. So, and that's again, thanks to quick decision-making by some government entities that make that happen. Denise, they talked about the Arizona Office of Tourism and the fact that they have funds for creating regional marketing plans, regional marketing that haven't been taken advantage of by anyone in Pinal County. And I'm like, well, Maricopa will suck some of that up. So Ben Stewart was the name of the gentleman at the Arizona Office of Tourism, and he could give you more information on that. Then they also talked about the town hall. This was a great subject for me because if you went to the candidate forum, you saw a little bit of civil anxiety. So this town hall for Pinal County is called Let's Be Civil, Promoting Positive Communication. And they want to teach people how to have civil discord in a positive manner. So I think it's going to be really exciting, and I encourage people to attend from the city, from our city council, from our residents. I mean, I think we could all benefit from that. And then Pinal County is putting together 10 to 12 short videos, of which you may have already seen. The one on food and restaurants in Pinal County, done very, very well. Our Raceway Bar and Grill was shown on the video. And they're going to be doing one on hiking, jobs, off-road riding, and history of Pinal County skydiving. And what you'll notice is there's a common theme going on if I talk about the Arizona League of Cities and Towns. Common theme going on regarding digital, going digital in everyday places. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So the Arizona League of Cities was in mid-August. A lot of us attended that. I participated in the transportation discussion, which talked about ADOT's budget, decision-making, a lot of the subjects that we've seen and heard quite often. And but one interesting thing is offline after the presentation, I had several people from other communities come up to me and say that when they talk to ADOT people, they use Maricopa as a, hey, go talk to Maricopa on their 347 overpass. They'll tell you how to make it happen. And so I found that to be a great example that Maricopa has set. And then regarding the Go Digital, their theme was Be a Ripple, Create a Wave, which was really, really interesting. And Jennifer and Denise, I'd love to talk to you more about it because some real interesting ideas on how to create presentations in everyday life to communicate with our residents. Things like Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor. They had a phenomenal example of how to use Nextdoor to get the word out. They basically said no one is reading press releases anymore. And so press releases are a thing of the past, and you got to figure out how to get digital in present everyday life. And it works, yeah. And then they also did something interesting, but kind of scary. Open data. They opened up their data to basically programmers to create free apps that share data that's interesting to certain groups or the city as a whole, residents as a whole, and residents can download the free apps and gain information and knowledge about the city in areas that they're interested in. So something to think about. They said it was really pretty scary when they first did it, but I found it extremely interesting. And they use ASU to hold what they call a Spark App Challenge, where young people are competing to develop the best app for the city. And you get the app for free. It's a pretty cool use. And then let me see, is it the last thing? Yeah, last thing, sorry. Prop 126, no taxes on services as a constitutional change. I just want to encourage at this point, I think we, the council, the city, the county, Arizona needs to find a way to educate people on this because it looks really simple and, oh, yeah, that's a yes vote, and straightforward, but when you're talking about a constitutional change, it's really important that you understand this law and how you really truly want to vote. So that was a big takeaway for me because I was an automatic yes. Oh, yeah, I like that. And then when you learn more and what kind of restrictions it's putting on our local government to make decisions, it becomes more interesting. And when it's a constitutional change, it becomes far more permanent than a lot of other methods. So that's it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Vice Mayor.
I just want to acknowledge Councilmember Wade. On August 11th, he did his latest installation of Councilmember on the Corner, and it featured special needs registry that Maricopa PD oversees. Chief Stahl was there. We also had, I'm blanking on the lady's name, but they talked about some of our adult residents with special needs here and how a special needs registry can help facilitate first responders and emergency response to those folks. So just wanted to thank Henry and the PD for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this time? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on. That'll take us to item 3.3. The Mayor and City Council shall hear an update on the Maricopa Economic Development Alliance, or MEDA, from Bill Stacy and Ron Fleming and Ioana Morfestis. So come on up. Denise, take it away.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. Tonight we brought in the troops. Just kidding. We have Mr. Bill Stacy with us, who's the chairman of the Maricopa Economic Development Alliance, We also have Ron Fleming, who's the president and CEO of Global Water, and of course our senior advisor, Ioana Morfesis, to talk about a lot of things that Councilmember Smith touched upon, marketing, partnerships, being agile. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Bill Stacy because I think he'll be able to sort of pave the way in the benefits of our relationship and our partnership with MEDA. And I think each representative will discuss a different point that I think will be illuminating to the relationship we have.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, council members, for the opportunity to be here tonight. In my capacity tonight as chairman of MEDA, the Maricopa Economic Development Alliance, I'm also CEO and general manager of Electrical District Number 3. With me tonight are Ron Fleming, president and CEO of Global Water, and Dr. Ioana Morfesis, who's a nationally recognized expert and our MEDA senior advisor to the MEDA board. First is an update on the MEDA progress for fiscal year 2017-2018, and if we could pass these out, Ioana, we have a brand new brochure just hot off the press. We just got them today, so we have those to pass out. Has a lot of information of our annual report for the past fiscal year. MEDA was established in 2009 to bring together the public and private sectors to promote economic development and well-being for the entire Maricopa community, and it's been a huge success.
Thanks.
Our legacy economic development projects include Banner Health Maricopa Center, Dignity Health Urgent Care Center, Central Arizona College, Maricopa Campus, Walmart Shopping Center. MEDA has and continues to work on partnership with the city's economic development department, potential prospects and opportunities for the city of Maricopa, input from Maricopa's RFP for Estrella Gin Business Park and Copper Sky Commercial Center, city manager search we participated in, calling on major firms to come to Maricopa, marketing Maricopa. We've been very active. It's been an exciting time working with Maricopa and MEDA. With that, I'd like to just congratulate the people who serve on our board. We have Mayor Price, Marvin Brown, City Manager Rick Horst, Denise Earhart, who's right behind me here. And finally, I'd like to congratulate Mayor Price for the election as president of the Arizona League of Cities and Towns, representing Maricopa. It's fantastic. Congratulations, Mayor. And I guess I would like to call on Ron Fleming to provide an update on the MEDA marketing and communications over the past year. Ron?
All right, thank you, Bill. Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
I don't think I need to announce who I am. It's been done a few times, and you know me. But I'm happy to be here tonight representing MEDA for the first time. I'm truly honored to be part of such a great organization. So one of MEDA's primary roles is marketing the city of Maricopa. Really, this started about 3 years ago, and for the past 3 years, we've worked with the city and the Economic Development Department to develop a marketing and communications program. And that was really centered upon changing some of the misconceptions or perceptions about the city of Maricopa, stemming from the global financial crisis and the housing market collapse and the foreclosure crisis that came out of all of that. And I think we're all aware of the fact that for a short while we were considered the poster child of that foreclosure crisis. So we thought it was important to instead get out there and aggressively market and talk about all the wonderful things about the city of Maricopa and the assets that it brings to both its families, its people, and its businesses. So specifically on the program, we sponsored several TV segments. We did have an aggressive public relations campaign where both regionally and across the state we worked to market all the special events that the city of Maricopa has. Obviously, there's a lot of them, and we were able to get a lot of both airtime on those events and participation from the regional area. Another thing that we did is we ran digital ads in Southern California, talking to businesses about all that the city of Maricopa offers the local businesses here. We believe that the marketing program yielded significant results. The responses have far exceeded industry average when it comes to both earned media and digital ads. I would say that that misconception or that title of poster child of the foreclosure crisis, for all intents and purposes, has gone away. And the opinion leaders in Greater Phoenix, based on the feedback that we have received, certainly have a more positive view of Maricopa. And so, obviously this turnaround is due in large part to the mayor and this council and all of your efforts and the efforts of the Economic Development Department and really the city as a whole, who I believe has done a tremendous job on all of these things. But we do think that our targeted marketing program was a significant part of that, and with all respect and humility, we believe that joint program has changed kind of the narrative about Maricopa for the positive. So we want to keep that going on the marketing program moving forward, but we did decide about a year ago to switch a little bit on that, to be less on the PR communication side and focus more on the economic development front. And so over the past fiscal year, we actually ran a process and asked for a request for interest from more PR and marketing companies out there as we try to select a new one to help us in that transition plan to focus more on economic development. I was honored to be asked to be chairman of that marketing selection committee. Both Jennifer Brown and Denise Earhart were on that committee as well. Long story short, after that process, we have now engaged a new firm to still help on the PR front, but just to a lesser degree. And we'll be working with Denise to finalize the marketing program as it pertains to the economic development program, because obviously that's a big push for the city right now, doing that work yourselves, and we want to be supportive of that effort to the fullest extent that we can. So once we finalize that role, we will put our shoulders to the wheel and move forward aggressively like we did with the initial marketing program that we put in place. And then finally, we will continue to work with Jennifer and Denise. This is an important year coming up, a 15th year celebration of the city of Maricopa, and I know that we want to commemorate a lot of the amazing things that the city has done and wrap it into an appropriate marketing program, which we're committed to make sure happens as well. So with that, I'm going to call up our senior policy advisor, Dr. Ioana Morfesis. Needs no introduction, I'm sure. But before I hand it over, I will say, having worked in numerous cities across the state and with a lot of different organizations, we're very lucky to have one like Ioana being a policy advisor to us. It's not just her experience and expertise in leading these types of initiatives, which has been very beneficial. It's because she truly cares. And we're all parts of committees where you maybe wonder how much people care, and not a lot gets done. Well, this group gets a lot done because Ioana cares so much about this city and also each member of MEDA. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to her to bring it home.
Thank you very much, Mayor and council members, and thank you, Ron and Bill, for your kind words. I'm Ioana Morfesis, and I do honestly, genuinely feel privileged to have the opportunity to work with Mayor and Council and with the City of Maricopa. It's great to be here tonight. So I'm going to talk about three things. First, about MEDA's role in education, and Councilwoman Smith, you were very eloquent in talking about the interdependency between a prosperous economy and community and education. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the MEDA organization. We're so blessed to have executives like Bill Stacy and like Ron Fleming, who really care. They put any self-interest totally on the side and really care in advancing the city. Everyone has a grand vision for this great city. And then I want to talk a little bit about collaboration, cooperation, and partnerships. So tonight, I just want to bring you up to date. We still champion education on behalf of the city of Maricopa and economic development. Many of you on the dais have encouraged us to be involved with education. And as you know, 5 years ago, we got overly involved, maybe to the liking or disliking of certain people in the educational establishment. But we did a community opinion poll, because at that time we had 900 kids being bussed out of, I know it sounds like desegregation. We had 900 kids being picked up every day by outside school districts, coming and taking that talent and the money away from Maricopa. And we did a community opinion poll. We hired the best pollster in the United States. It was clear that parents were not happy. Today, that number of kids getting picked up every day is 1,700 times whatever per pupil, per capita, 7,000 something. So we're losing even more talent and whatnot. But in the meanwhile, what our work led to was the development of a 5-year strategic plan for the Maricopa Unified School District. Of course, it's the school governing board's idea, and that's great, and we don't care whose idea it is, as long as it gets done. And a lot of good things have come out of that. We now have a new superintendent who has a very bold vision. She envisions MUSD as being a destination district, a destination school district. Well, I want MUSD to be the destination public school district on the planet, not just in the state of Arizona. So we will be working closely with Dr. Lopman on her vision and plan. I do want to pass out our new hot off the press education brochure about education in Maricopa. The Economic Development Department uses this. Some of our board members uses this brochure, and it really talks about all the education, not just MUSD in the city of Maricopa. Okay. So we also, in terms of education, last year, very happy to support Councilman Manfredi's incredibly dynamic and effective leadership in getting the passage of the override, which was so important. And we all know that one of our greatest assets is our highly educated population. Highly educated people want a great education for their kids, and we need to keep that in mind. It's an important part of the economic development strategy. But that's why we need to support our MUSD especially. Another piece of our work is to build an even stronger private-public partnership, meaning the MEDA organization. We have had a very high level of active engagement of our private sector board members. MEDA, and therefore the city of Maricopa, receives more private sector non-government money for the city's economic development program than any other city, any other municipality in the state of Arizona. I say this every year. Well, our private sector is contributing almost $93,000 a year for marketing and also to support MEDA. And I'm very happy to say that we achieved this record level of private sector engagement and financial part. People are putting their money where their mouth is. So their walk matches their talk. This fiscal year, we also started a MEDA 2.0 process. Where do we need to go? What should we be looking like? What are we still relevant? Is our mission and our purpose and what we do relevant to the city's ability to be competitive in economic development? Are we relevant to the city of Maricopa? So we hired a facilitator. The board, and I was not involved in this piece, nor was Denise, because we didn't want to color any outcome. And the board came up with what it felt were the most important goals, reaffirmed the importance of MEDA and the role MEDA serves on behalf of the city. The board developed six major priority focus areas, the foremost of which is marketing and building the image and relationship network for the city of Maricopa, and obviously championing regional Infrastructure Solutions, Ron Fleming, has been very strong on this, and we're hoping to, we have a board meeting coming up. I want to invite all council members, and I'll follow up with an email on Wednesday, September 12th from 2 to 5, an infrastructure work session. We have Bob Holmes, the city's lobbyist, policy development group. We have many of your department heads. The city manager will be making a presentation. What is needed and what role can the private sector play? Not just the META board members, but the whole private sector play to support the achievement of Maricopa's floodplain and infrastructure goals. So we really are keenly focusing on where we're going to make the greatest impact and difference. I will say that our marketing effort did change the narrative about META. Ron's very modest and humble. What we've done over the last 3.5 years with private and public money is really changed the negative narrative about Maricopa. Even Maricopans have I think, a better perception of what the mayor and council and government are doing, what's going on in the city. Many times I've shared with you that our citizens here in Maricopa, forgive me, don't yell at me, know too much about what's going on in Maricopa sometimes, overly too much. But the bottom line is our standing in the region, because of the mayor and council members, and Denise's work as well as an economic development expert, someone who is very respected in our region, our engagement in GPEC, MAG, CAG, you name it, all of this, Canada, Arizona Business Council, is all critical to changing the narrative. And as we move forward now, and now with our new city manager in place as well, we have the right team moving forward to take advantage of the continued national economic growth, but we have to do it with active engagement and all of these partnerships. Now, in closing, let me just say 2 things, please. META is not an appendage or a option for Maricopa. META is a creation of the city. It was created to serve as an instrument of the city to help foster and effectuate economic development. No company is going to locate in a community where business and government do not work well together, or where governments and governments do not work well together. META gives a return on investment. It does provide performance-based services, and it is the way that the city can demonstrate with authenticity through a third party, not through talking heads of city government, but through a third party, that business does work well with government and government does work well with business in Maricopa. It's your living proof and validation. The other thing I want to talk about, because some of you have been very respectful and have brought to me questions or ideas about why do we participate in GPEC, or why do we participate in this or that. We are part of a regional economic marketplace. Now, Maricopa is blessed because we have 1 foot in Pinal County and 1 foot in Maricopa. So we get to enjoy the best of all worlds. But we are not at all, no city, not even the city of Phoenix, which is the name of the region, has the ability to launch, plan for, and launch, do the research and launch very targeted marketing, executive sales missions, generating a deal-generating pipeline of qualified prospects. If we can't compete for them, that means we have to be better, Maricopa. But no city, not even the city of Phoenix, can mount that level of effort the way it is done on a regional scale. Now, the Honorable Exalted One said, well, GPEC's your baby. You started. Yeah, I did. I spilled a lot of blood, sweat, and tears there for 10 years. And we were hugely successful after a very difficult startup. The regional approach works because there are 333 metro markets. Companies are used to looking at the metropolitan economy. They may go into the state level because they know the governor in most states holds the keys to incentives, but they use their unit of analysis at the regional metropolitan statistical area. If we were not part of GPEC, we would not be in that evaluation process. And so the level of marketing, the level of executive contact for these executive sales missions, the investment in research and analytics, the relationship building, the platform, and having Maricopa's name on that website that's going to get 10,000 hits a month or however many, we couldn't do that on our own. I know that some of you, and I'm thrilled, and thank you, Mayor and Council, for approving the budget to hire a business development officer. She's a dynamo. I was very humbled and proud to be on that interview committee. She's one person in addition to your dynamo economic development director. The job out there when we're competing with 50 states, 330 metro areas, 16,000 cities, and however many countries, this is the competitive landscape. So yes, it'd be nice if we could all be self-contained, but we're not. We're way more prosperous today than we were even a year ago. Please don't let Maricopa be smug and complacent. We gotta work all the more harder, and we're not gonna get to where we need to be without active engagement investment in organizations like GPAC. MEDA, I'm separating out because we're an instrument of the city government to some measure. But we need to be actively engaged, and not just in CAG and MAG and GPAC, but other stuff too. And so anyway, thank you for letting me go on, but I just didn't feel right not bringing this to your attention, because I know that it has been raised by some of our council members, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for the presentation, all of you. We appreciate it. Council, questions? Councilmember Smith.
Ron, you mentioned that, and actually you can also address it if you want. You mentioned that you did some digital promotions. Can you describe what kind of digital promotions? Because when I sat in on this session, I was really intrigued by what kind of digital promotions are actually really working to meet the people where they are. So just curious. Okay, okay.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We was mostly digital ads, and that covered the Southern California editions of Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Financial Times of London. They were specifically designed ads. The first wave was quality of life ads, and we got a lot of click-throughs. I don't have all the analytics in front of me, but I can send them to you. They're in our regular progress report, and Denise can send them to you. So we started with quality of life, got a lot of click-throughs, a lot of downloads of, with the city, Jennifer Brown and Ruben helped us develop a landing page, lifeinmaricopa.com. So a lot of housing. The school data was downloaded, got lots of hits, but more than anything, the housing and quality of life got the most hits. Then when we started concentrating, because the Honorable Exalted One wanted more hard-hitting economic development, we then turned a lot of our digital to Southern California editions of the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Financial Times of London, New York Times. What's that one? Full something. Like Money, Time Magazine, you know, a very selective business. And we got a lot of click-throughs, maybe 2,000 a month. And because we knew we were phasing out of that firm, we didn't continuously replenish it. We now, as Ron reported, Ron Fleming, we're going to do, working with Denise and the marketing plan that the City Economic Development Department has, we are going to be doing exclusively digital advertising with that same buy, but we're going to also see Northern California and the Midwest. Does that help?
Yeah, what is the platform for the, when you indicate you've had so many hits, where are they hitting?
Well, they click on the ad.
An ad that
so like
comes
if I'm on
via-
New York Times, boom, because I read it.
Okay, okay.
Or Wall Street Journal, boom, there's Maricopa.
Okay.
Like I couldn't open any newspaper or magazine online without Maricopa being there.
Thank you, that helps a lot, thanks.
Yes, Councilmember Wade.
Thank you all very much for your presentation. Appreciate it. You know, you talk about the benefits that we derive from being associated with different organizations, including META. Can you, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions on any other community or what have you, but just as an understanding about what we do benefit from versus organizations or cities of our size that do not do anything. Are there cities that we can look at and say, well, you know, if they had taken the steps that maybe we had taken, they'd be a little more progressive, they'd be a little further away or together with their economic development programs. Is there anyone that you can pick out, or maybe a couple you could pick out as though to say, you know, they should have done something and they didn't?
Councilman Wade, are you asking me, can I give you other examples of cities that have a meter or don't have a meter?
That have not taken those efforts.
They're obviously not on the radar because they haven't had a good private sector. No.
Great answer.
But I'm trying to get everyone to lighten up here. There are many cities that do not because they didn't have the forethought. And this is not about Iowana or the META board. This was the mayor and council who were very visionary when Maricopa was incorporated. And they were thinking 50, 100 years out. I will say this. The city benefits from having its private sector involved as ambassadors for the city of Maricopa. And the fact that you've got a marketing program that is being significantly augmented by private sector money that doesn't expect anything in return for it, I think is a very positive indicator. And forgive me, and with some humility, you have someone with my experience, it could be somebody else, but this is Iowana here. You have someone with my experience and track record at a very cheap price, really, if you think about the city's contribution to the META, the non-marketing part of META, for a very cheap price that you couldn't otherwise afford, or that a city like Maricopa could not otherwise afford. There are a lot of cities out there that don't understand and haven't had the benefit of the wisdom of council members like yourself, and you know this through Chicanos por la Causa, where you have to have business, government, civic, and education working together. So I can go through specifics in our annual report. There's stuff in that we don't put in our annual report, like you don't do economic development in the news, but we have worked with companies, we have inputted significantly on different projects, we've championed projects, and we're out there batting for Maricopa all the time. But you want concrete? I understand.
Not that I don't want concrete because I don't believe in what I want concrete so that I can solidify what you're saying and agree with it.
Okay.
Not that I don't agree.
Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions, Council? Councilman Gussie.
How you doing? I had a question. I see a small blurb here regarding the charter and the private schools. It's more of a question to see maybe if you could answer it. I had my son finished up at Sequoia Pathway and was given a tour of the school, of the high school portion. The high school is a very small class. And did you know that there's students from Chandler area coming to that school? Every day they're driving in from Chandler to go to that school, Sequoia Pathway. Do you know if there are any students coming from the Chandler, the surrounding areas to go to Maricopa High School?
Councilwoman Gussie, I would like to ask Dr. Lopeman to, without naming names and, without breaching privacy, it'd be nice to know, and we will get that.
So you don't know that?
No, I don't know that.
And as you know, in real estate, I dabble a little bit in real estate, location. Right. And for us to attract high-end individuals, we have to have a high-end school district.
Right.
And I know you started off by stating that that's what you're working towards. Do you see that needle changing in the next couple of years to where there's going to be surrounding communities that want to come to Maricopa just because of the school district?
Well, I hope and pray to God, and we're going to put our shoulder to the wheel. The business community has stood up. You now have a superintendent, not taking away anything from anybody else, whose vision wants to be that kind of a destination school district. I'm not sure we had such a clearly articulated vision before. I think it will make a difference, Councilwoman.
It'll make one heck of a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this time? Okay. Thank you very much for being present and for giving us that presentation, and we appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. I just want to say we had hoped to have our contract on your regular session tonight, but I guess wires got crossed, So hopefully it'll be at your next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, that'll take us to item 3.4. The Mayor and Council shall hear a presentation from the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM. This is the Phoenix District Manager, Leon Thomas. Dale?
Mayor and Council, actually, there's a slight change in your program. We're going to be having Ed Kender report on the BLM activities instead of Mr. Thomas.
Okay.
So, Ed?
Good evening, Mayor Price, Vice Mayor Chapados, council members. Thank you for allowing us time on the agenda during your busy time to present our projects that are within Maricopa. It may impact the city of Maricopa. I'd like to start off that apologize for Leon Thomas not being able to be here. He had prior commitments that he couldn't make this appointment. Bureau of Land Management, I've managed the Lower Sonoran Field Office. We are, I have 1.4 million acres of surface acres, 1.3 million of subsurface, additional 1.3 million subsurface acres for minerals. And we cover from I-10 south in the center part of the state, ranging down to the border. That also includes the Sonoran Desert National Monument, which is encompassing just under 500,000 acres. These lands are multiple use. We manage them for mineral extraction, for very diverse recreational activities, wildlife management, cultural activities, cultural resources, and wilderness as well, and grazing. Within the Lower Sonoran Field Office, we have 6 wilderness areas, 4 areas of critical environmental concern. We have the congressionally designated Juan Bautista de Anza National Historic Trail that passes through. We also have the Painted Rock, which is west of Gila Bend, that is also listed on the National Register of Historic Places. That's not working. I'm frozen. There we go. Travel management is one of the things that we're working on currently. We call it the Buckeye Hills Rainbow Valley area that's outlined in blue. We have completed earlier this year public meetings held, one of them which was held at Copper Sky. And we completed just under 700 miles of route evaluations. And we also released a draft, developed and released a draft environmental assessment and had public meetings referring to that as well to get the public input on what we have as far as our draft. The next steps are we're in the process of finalizing the environmental assessment. We'll sign a decision, and then we'll have to implement the plan. And what we're doing within these just under 700 miles of route evaluations is to designate it either as open, closed, or limited. And the limited would have to be towards maybe rights of ways for power line companies within there, as far as maybe grazing operators with their range improvements that they just have exclusive use for. Next, 2007, the city of Goodyear annexed the town of Mobile. And in doing so, in 2008, they did a project request for a 250-foot right-of-way to expand its road network, since they have to provide services down to the town of Mobile. With that, the reason why they did that is only access points from the city of Goodyear to the town of Mobile was either 85 on the west, which was 58 miles, 63 miles going through Phoenix, coming down 347 through Maricopa, back out west towards the town of Mobile. This project would decrease it to 18 miles. And currently we're finalizing the final impact statement, the environmental impact statement, to be released to the public, and then issue a record of decision for that project as well. I'd like to talk about the Sonoran Desert National Monument. One of the things that is going on is that we were challenged with a route resource management plan that was issued in 2012. And one of the challenges was grazing on the monument and impacts on monument objects. It went through the court system, and the U.S. District Court ordered us to go back and do a new land health evaluation compatibility analysis to see the effects of grazing on the 6 allotments within the Sonora Desert National Monument. What we are doing right now is we have completed the land health evaluation and compatibility analysis, and we're finalizing that document to release it to the public. And then we're going to hit a milestone to see whether or not we need to do an RMP amendment, a resource management plan amendment, as far as those decisions, and update the data as well. Another project that we're working on is working with the MCDOT is on MC 238, connecting the city of Maricopa and the town of Gila Bend. They approached us to work with them and with the right-of-way to soften some of the curves, and also to improve the washes, the wash crossings with any, I'm not going to enlighten you with any kind of news that when you have a monsoon drive through, and you're on 238, you may get trapped for a couple hours. So we're working with them on the initial phases on the studies for that. As well as within the picture that's above, you have 3 blue squares. That is the Juan Batista de Anza Recreation Management Zone Recreation Plan that I signed last year, and we submitted for contracting, and we just awarded a contract, and we are starting to look at the development plans for these 3 areas as far as access to the Butterfield Recreation Area, the Estrella Recreation Area, and Christmas Camp. And that goes from the west, central, and eastern part of the Recreation Management Zone, which is north of 238 and south of the North Maricopa Wilderness on the map. I'd like to point out, as far as to highlight the Butterfield Recreation Area, we're looking at developing camping loops. This would improve developed campsites for 18 to 24 campsites, and there's already a vault toilet there, and look at implementing or installing another vault toilet. Each campsite would be accessible through 2-wheel drive or RVs, going from 238 north to the western part of Butterfield Pass, as well as it'll be a gravel surface parking area. Each camping area will have a picnic table and a steel fire ring. The central access point, which is Estrella Recreation Zone, has the 2 fingers that are off to the west. That would have approximately 10 primitive campsites. They will have a steel fire ring and a picnic table, but no other facilities. And this would be accessible by high clearance 4x4s. And the last part is the Christmas camp on the east. And this would be, right now we're using it for large groups, up to 150 individuals. And when the development occurs, we'll be able to have the maximum capacity of 200 individuals and 75 vehicles. Currently, this is used by Boy Scouts for their jamborees. We also, every few years, we have the Mormon reenactment of the traversing of the Butterfield Pass with the hand carts, and they are right now in the process of working our recreation staff to have a permit to do that in between Christmas and New Year's. The last project that I'd like to point out is Pinal County approached us with a development of the Palo Verde area, which is on the border of Pinal County, just west of here. And we're currently working through that application with Pinal County and with Ken Taylor to see the compatibility with the resource management plan and how we can make their project work. These are points of contact. Leon Thomas is the district manager. I'm the field manager. Wayne Monger is the Sonoran Desert National Monument manager. And joining me tonight was Mariella Castaneda, who's our public affairs specialist. At this time, I'd like to entertain any questions that you may have.
Council, questions at this time? Yes, Councilmember Smith.
Thank you for the presentation. I think that was a really great update on what's happening. Could you just elaborate a little bit on timing for Palo Verde and your review and some milestones that might be near term or
Well, right now we're looking at their master plan that they submitted and how it works within our, like I said earlier, we're multiple use, so we have multiple program areas that we manage for and how it's compatible with those different program areas. We're looking at doing it as a phased approach and looking at which ones are within Pinell County, they have different phases, and we're working towards which ones and how they could work, whether it's within a Recreation and Public Purposes Act or rights-of-ways or some other kind of tool that the government may have to actually see it solidify. As far as timing, we're working with them with their Peralta Park first, which is in northern Pinell County. And then we're also working with other cities and counties with their RMPP applications too. So when it comes into the queue, we're actually working in them now with the plan to see how it fits in and which tools are available for which developments. So as far as, I'm not trying to evade like a true federal employee. What I'm trying to let you know is that we are currently working in, and it is a longer process. And we're taking them with the staff that we have, and as far as the area that we have to cover with all the other projects, we're working on it as we can, and we're holding monthly meetings to get to that point.
All right, I think that's fair and honest answer, and sets expectations, so thank you.
I've learned very early on that I am not going to make promises because they'll come back and bite me.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to follow on a question from Councilmember Smith regarding, I just am curious, are you involved, at least the BLM, and I think you are, but to an extent with the Tier 1 EIS study that ADOT is doing for the I-11 corridor that does go near and tries to avoid federal lands?
We are a cooperating agency.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we are involved with that. All of our districts are, and we coordinate at the state office level because it goes over 3 districts. That the way we work it is that it'll be handled at the state office level. So we work on it on our field office level and make our recommendations as far as how it impacts our resources and how we would like to see it be implemented and what to avoid or what to how it would better fit within our plan.
Perfect. Thank you. Other questions? Yes, Councilmember Gussit.
In one of your slides, you had pointed out a shooting area. And how can you help us, help me, help you, help me? How can we get this information out to our vets a little bit better? Our vets go often, they go out shooting, and I'm sorry, I'm not aware of where they go, and I'm not certain if it's even okay where they're going. But at the same time, how can we better inform them of these locations of where they could go out and shoot?
Actually, they could call our office, and we have a rec planner, a recreation planner that can actually work with them. I do know that we work with Dusty Bunch is a group that is around the Maricopa area, as well as Province. They have a shooting club, and we work with them.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time, Council? No one? Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, and
Thank
I
you
look
both
forward
being
to presenting in the future as well.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Love to hear it. All right, Council, that concludes our work session at this time. So with that, I would like to go ahead and have a motion to conclude so we can get our next meeting started here shortly.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. We'll reconvene in 3 minutes.